So, rebranded films. I mean, how do you feel about it? Good, bad, indifferent, don't care, don't like it? I mean...
I don't like all the ugly cars in the back.
So Palm Panchromatic is a black and white film from a company down in Miami called Palm Film Lab, thus the name Palm Panchromatic. It comes in speeds of ISO 100 and 400, and there's going to be a little bit of difference between both, and then whether or not it's a new film or rebranded or whatever it is, we'll get into that in a little bit too.
Real. We're trying to close down this bar. 50. I think there's no parking signs.
I've shot a few rolls of 35mm with this Panchromatic film, and I have a few rolls of the 120, but I haven't gotten to that yet, so there's not really going to be a difference, but of course it's nice to have 35 and 120 in any film stock, really. So the first roll of 100 speed film I shot on the Konica IIIA, and it's got deep, rich blacks, it's got great contrast, very fine grain, not a lot of noise, the highlights are good, preserved. So there are a few shots in here that are kind of overexposed and blown out. The reason being for that is because on the bottom of the Konica IIIA, there's a little dial you turn and press in order to open the back door. And somehow or another that dial was turned, and so when I set it down on my desk, the back door popped open, and so the middle of the roll was blown out, and there's a few shots that are overexposed, but I just included them just for reference. Also, big shout out to Alex for following me around with a camera and being that guy.
Oh. The dog. Say what?
I'm really happy with a lot of the results I got shooting this film, and I definitely like the style and the look of the 100 speed over the 400. But there are definitely situations where I can see myself picking the 400 over the 100. So the roll of 400, I did not shoot on the Konica IIIA, and I probably should have, but I just popped it into another camera and went on with my day. So I shot it on the Olympus 35 RC, which is another 2.8 fixed lens rangefinder. So you can definitely see the 400 has a lot less contrast. There's a lot more grain, a lot more noise to it, and it just doesn't pop quite as much. And then also the big difference I'm noticing is the highlights. They have that bloom to it. They're kind of blown out, which is a really cool look, and I kind of like a lot of the shots where that played in. Personally, again, I prefer the deep, rich blacks and contrast of the 100 speed, especially since I can play with my depth of field a little bit more at that lower ISO. But there were a lot of shots with the 400 and that bloom that I really did enjoy. So in shooting the 400 and now looking at the results, it reminds me a lot of EZ400, which I've talked about previously, and someone commented on the video saying it's probably just rebranded Fomopan, which now that I've gone back and looked at Fomopan and kind of compared the results, I can definitely see that. And so I'm also now wondering if this Palm Panchromatic is also just rebranded Fomopan. Even on the Instagram account for the film, it just says private labeled black and white film, which makes me, of course, believe 100% that it's not new stock, but so I'm pretty confident it's just rebranded Fomopan. So yes, it's kind of a bummer that it's not a new stock of film, but at the same time you had Kodak and Cinestill just both release new color films, so that's a bright side. So I feel like it's been like a year since they announced this Palm Panchromatic, and they still haven't launched it on their website. You can pick it up in store in their Miami location. Otherwise, you can try and hit them up on Instagram and see if they'll ship it to you. Or you could just shoot Fomopan and get the same results. Of course, if you're wanting to support a small lab and things like that, definitely hit them up and see if they'll ship you some. So yeah, I hope you like this new style, this new format, but that is Palm Panchromatic. If you have questions about it or anything else, leave that in the comments and I will be sure to get back to you.